So today we're going to be doing a demo of a really common service in salon, a gel manicure color change. So we're going to get started by doing our prep, and we're going to be pushing back those cuticles. You always want to make sure that you're not skipping this step. Push back those cuticles so that you can really expose any dead protein growth, any cuticle that may be stuck on the nail, so that we can get that removed. Okay, by pushing back the cuticles, it's also going to help to give you a little bit more space as you're working and removing that old gel polish, so that you're not coming up to that cuticle area where you're not filing on that natural nail. Okay, so I'm going to start with my electric file, and I'm going to be using our safety bit. So this is our safety bit course. I'm going to turn my speed on my e-file to about, I would say about 12 to 15,000 RPMs. And we're going to just kind of work in a circular motion or pulling that bit towards myself. Just kind of working through that gel polish to remove that top color. Now she does have the base coat underneath there, so as I get and kind of break through that color, I'm going to stop filing in those areas so that I don't file through that base coat as well. So I do actually want to leave that base coat on the nail, and that's going to help to protect the nail again so that I'm not filing on the nail. And then when I go to re-prep the nail, I'm not going to be re-prepping that natural nail over and over. I'm just going to be prepping over the surface of that base coat. So this is again going to help to protect that natural nail, and it's going to help to avoid any damage or over filing. So she had a little bit of extra base coat underneath, so I'm just going to go through and just kind of lightly smooth out that surface a little bit more, making sure that there's no lumps or bumps on there or extra base coat from before. Okay, just kind of working through that whole surface. As I work to the side, I actually do kind of turn that nail on the side so I can get right down into that edge. And also as I'm working and I'm starting to remove that product, I do a little bit more of a feathering motion. So I'm not just pulling or that circles, I'm just kind of doing a little bit of a feathering motion, kind of back and forth to get some of those smaller areas of that gel polish removed. So I'm going to switch over to my sanding band now. And this is a medium grit sanding band. We're going to go turn our speed to about, I'd say about 5 to 7,000. Maybe we'll start at 6,000 and see where we're at here, okay? So we're going to turn that speed down. We're going to work right up around that cuticle area to kind of prep that cuticle area. Make sure that there's no cuticle still stuck to that nail. And then I'm going to go through and just kind of feather through to re-prep and remove the shine from the surface of that base coat that's still on her nail. And again, at this time, you can get a little bit closer into those sidewalls, into that cuticle area, and get those last little bits of her gel polish off of the nail. Any little bit of separation or lifting that you may see, make sure that you do file that off so that you're not just leaving that on the nail. That way, again, you're going to get a really good tight seal with your product to the nail. You're not going to have to worry about any chipping or lifting or anything like that. And just making sure any last little bits of color get removed. Now, a trick to help you with your speed is if you're changing your color from something that's a lighter color to something that may be a darker color, don't worry again about all those last little bits of the color. If you're using a darker color that's going to cover what's on there, it's okay if you still have a couple of last little bits of that color on there. Not a big deal. Okay. All right.
I have a question.
Yes.
Would the price for this gel color change be different than if I came in with nothing on my nails getting a gel manicure?
That's a great question. And it really depends on how you set up your pricing. I actually do charge the same whether it's for a brand new set or for a change out, because I want to make sure that my client isn't trying to remove her product at home. Okay? I don't want her trying to file it off or pull it off and damage that natural nail. So that's why I do charge the same price. So I charge a little bit higher for my overall service, but again, that's because I want to make sure that I'm able to change out the color for her. Okay, so next thing I'm going to do, and this is kind of an optional step, but I really like to use this bit. This is our diamond cuticle square bit. And this works up really well up into that cuticle area. So you can kind of see if you look really close, she's got a little bit of kind of that protein growth still around the cuticle area, kind of down into those sidewalls. So I'm going to use this bit to get right up into that cuticle area and really clean that out well. This is a step that I like to do because I don't do a lot of nipping or cutting the cuticles. I want to make sure that I'm not damaging that eponychium around her cuticle here. So this is one of the reasons that I like to use this bit. It saves me from having to do a lot of clipping or nipping of that cuticle, but it really gets that cuticle area nice and clean. Okay, and again, this I'm using on about 5,000 RPM, so nice and low. It's not going to cause any damage, and it's also kind of prepping the surface of that nail as well. Now, if she needs the nails shortened at all, you can go ahead and shorten them or kind of do a little bit of a shaping. A lot of times when you're doing your gel polish color changes, they may or may not need a lot of shortening. If they're trying to grow their nails out, they definitely don't need any shortening, but always give them a little bit of a reshape because sometimes the edges will wear down and things like that. So just kind of cleaning up that shaping. Okay, we'll go ahead and dust off both of these nails. Get all of that dust off the nail, off the sidewalls, down into that cuticle area, and then we'll come in with our swipe, and I'll pump a little bit of that onto my manicure brush and use that to cleanse the nail. Now you can use the lint-free wipes if you choose. For me, this is a little bit easier. We're going to apply 1 coat of protein bond over the whole nail, and again making sure to really get up into that cuticle area without touching the skin, but we're going to apply that product onto her natural nail by that cuticle area. So make sure that cuticle area especially gets that coat of protein bond. We're going to go into a coat of our base coat. This is our Manicure base. So Manicure is a soft gel. It is going to cure in our UV LED light for a full cure of 60 seconds, but a lot of times as I'm working, you may notice that I do just a quick freeze of 30 seconds. What that's going to do is it's going to freeze my product into place, and then I can go on to my next coat, and then during that next curing, it's going to cure my base coat fully. Okay? But I'm also applying this over the remaining base coat that was on that nail because I didn't fully remove that. Again, that's to help to kind of protect that natural nail so that we don't overfile or damage the nail. Okay? So again, we're just going to go in for a quick 30-second freeze.
About how long would you say, like a time range that this service takes?
Depending on what you're doing, this service could take probably about 30 minutes, 45 maybe if you're adding in any art or anything like that, but I would say 30 is about the average. If you're doing a lot more work, or honestly something that really makes your services take longer, is if you're using a dull bit. And this I think sometimes happens a lot in salon because people, you can't really see that the bit has dulled, but it does get dull, and then it takes you a lot longer to remove that polish. And I think that's where people tend to take a lot of extra time. Okay, so today Kira chose Life Coach as her color today, and this is actually one of our sheer kind of jelly looking colors. On one of her nails, I'm going to do 2 coats of it, and we're going to do kind of a solid, well, I say solid color, but it's not really a solid color, it's a sheer. But again, we're going to do 2 coats of this on one nail, and then I'm only going to do 1 on her second nail. On her second nail, we're going to do a little bit of a glitter press so that you guys can see exactly how to add that into your gel manicure services as well. So again, that first coat of our sheer color, and then we're going to go back into our light for another 30-second freeze. So on the first one, we're going to do the glitter press. So I'm only going to do 1 coat of color. Now, depending on how you want your color to look, you can always do a second coat. But I think sometimes with the glitter press, if you do 2 coats of it, you tend to get a little bit thicker because you've got those 2 coats of the gel polish, and then you've got your glitter and your top coats over that. So usually when I'm doing my glitter press, I just do 1 coat. So on our second nail here, we've got our second coat. We'll go ahead and cure those again for 30 seconds. Okay, so let's go ahead and take that out. Now we were kind of talking, and it looks like it's a little bit more sheer than what she was expecting, so we can add a 3rd coat if needed, okay? Don't worry guys, it's fine if you add a 3rd coat. Sometimes it even helps with durability. If maybe your clients have a little bit of a thinner nail and they need a little bit more durability, you can actually add either a 3rd coat of your gel polish, or you could do even a 2nd coat of your base coat. Just to add a little bit more durability to that nail, and it's just fine. So we've got our coat of color on there. Now I'm starting to see a little bit more of a difference. So she's got a little bit of color on there. we're going to come back to our first nail and we're going to do our glitter press on there. And we've got lava as our glitter today. Okay, so all I'm going to do, I'm just using just a little makeup brush, just kind of like a little eyeshadow brush. So I'm going to touch the brush to my glitter and then I'm going to touch it onto her nail. Now what that's going to do is it's going to set that glitter down into that tacky surface on her nail. So I want to make sure that I always come back to my glitter before I tap onto her nail again. If I were to just come in there and just keep tapping on there, this brush is going to pick up that little bit of tacky surface that's on her nail and it's going to kind of gum up your brush. So always go from your glitter to the nail, glitter to the nail, glitter to the nail. Once you've got that whole nail coated, then I do kind of tend to just kind of press that glitter down and then I'll lightly dust off. And what this does is it's going to remove any of that glitter that hasn't adhered, but it's also going to kind of press that glitter a little bit more flat so that when I top coat, it's not going to be kind of poking out or sticking up in any areas. Okay, grab one of our forms and you can just take that little tab out of the center, stick that onto your finger, and then you can kind of use that as a little bit of a protective layer when you're pressing that glitter down. Okay, just a quick little trick. Again, if you feel more comfortable using a glove, you can do that as well. I just want to make sure that I get all of that glitter out from the sidewalls before I do my top coat so that I don't have any issues with it kind of getting bulky around the edge or anything like that. So I'm just using the point of my magic wand here. Otherwise you can use a cuticle pusher or you can use an orange wood stick, whatever you have handy. But definitely kind of check around those edges, make sure that there's no glitter stuck down on those sides. At this point, we're going to go into our top coat. Now our first nail here, we're just going to use one coat of our Manicure top. This is going to seal that color. It's going to give her a nice high shine. And then we'll go ahead and cure this. On our second nail, we're actually going to do 2 coats of our top coat. Okay, so the first coat is actually going to seal that glitter in, but we still may feel a little bit of texture once this is cured. So we're going to do a second coat of top coat on this glitter just to make sure that it's nice and smooth and shiny. Okay, looks good. We'll go ahead in. And again, I'm just going to freeze this whole hand for 30 seconds because when we go to do our second coat of on the glitter press, that middle nail that we did just the gel polish on, that's going to cure all the way through when we do our second cure. So again, just a quick 30-second freeze is all you need at this point. Okay, so we're going to take that back out. We're going to, again, our solid color has cured, and we're going to do a second coat on our glitter just to seal that in, give us a nice smooth finish, and then we're going to fully cure both of these nails for a full 60 seconds. Her nails are fully cured, but with our Manicure top coat, it does have a slightly tacky surface. So I'm going to use our Manicure Cleanse. This is a non-acetone cleanser. So it's going to leave a nice high shine finish to our nail, but it's going to remove that little bit of tacky uncured gel from the surface. Okay. Now notice that as I am removing this, I am kind of wiping forward. I'm not scrubbing back and forth up onto her skin. What that's going to do is that's actually going to keep that uncured product from getting up onto her skin. So as you're wiping, make sure that you're just pulling that uncured product off rather than kind of rubbing back and forth up onto her skin. Okay. Now at this point, if I need to, I can kind of check my edges, make sure that there wasn't anything stuck down on the edges, and I can give it a final kind of a shaping just to make sure that everything came out nice and smooth. And especially when we're working with those glitters, I always want to kind of check around that edge, make sure that there's no glitters poking out from the edge or anything like that. So I'm using my 240 file buffer combo. Again, I love this one because it's quick and it's easy, so I can do any shaping, but then I can also flip over to that buffer side to give my nail a really smooth finish around that edge so that there's not going to be any sharp areas or anything that that client may end up catching.
Well, what about capping the free edge? Doesn't this mess with that?
That's a great question. Because we used the protein bond underneath our application, this has a nice seal all the way through that free edge. So if we don't cap with top coat onto that edge It's not a big deal. It's not going to break the seal or anything like that. Your protein bond has bonded everything all the way through. So I'm going to add a little bit of our rose oil onto these nails to hydrate everything again, keep that cuticle nice and hydrated, keep those natural nails nice and flexible. And this is always also something that you want to make sure that your clients are doing at home as well. This is going to help to maintain their gel manicure, keep everything nice and flexible, even throughout their day-to-day work, because we know that our clients use their nails as tools instead of jewels. But the rose oil on a daily basis is going to help to keep that flexibility and keep your product from chipping. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and finish the rest of her nails, and then we'll show you the final look.